Welcome to the Wild and Fierce podcast. We are your hosts, Amber
and Johanna. We're here to explore womanhood through real, raw, and unfiltered conversations.
Please remember this podcast is for education only and not a substitute for medical advice. Always consult your own healthcare professional.
Let's dive in.
Welcome to episode 2 of the Wild and Fierce podcast. Johanna and I are both very excited you guys are here to jump into conversation on nourishment. So today we're going to dive into what nourishment is and especially our definition of nourishment. I'm assuming when most of you guys hear the word nourishment, and Johanna and I were talking off camera, if we weren't in this industry and in this world, we would probably have a similar definition to nourishment that you all have. And that is food comes to mind, what we eat, what we drink, things like that. And we want to open this conversation to talk about that nourishment is so much more than just what we eat and what we ingest. So I'm going to kick this off first by just explaining why we came up with this idea, why we want to talk about this, and why we're both so passionate about this based on what we see in society today. Okay, so I want everyone to picture your little battery on your iPhone, right? There's the red, the yellow, and the green. And I'm going to give examples of what it would look like to be in the red or what it would be like to be in the green. So because I work with moms, I'm going to use a mom example because that's just what comes to my brain the easiest. So if we think about a mom who slept like absolute garbage last night, stress is through the roof. She's taking care of a newborn and a toddler. Maybe she's newly postpartum, so she's breastfeeding, so she's already a little bit undernourished just from taking care of a kiddo and postpartum. Then maybe the calendar is just so full. There's no white space. She's super, super busy. So her body is just running on lower battery pack, okay? Then let's say she goes to do a workout that day. What would have felt light workout-wise, maybe the day before, like a 10-pound weight, today feels like a 30-pound weight. Her capacity to handle life in this moment is much lower, okay? She's in that like red to yellow. Let's go to the perfect picture, which is like the green battery. This is both kiddos slept amazing. Mom got a good night's sleep. Mom ate a really good meal for breakfast, so she's feeling nourished from a food perspective. She's well hydrated. Her stress is lower because the kiddos are doing great today. Maybe the husband's home to help, so she has support in the home. When she then goes to do her workout, her body's capacity and energy feels higher. Her energy and mood throughout the day are just in general better. So she's more in like that green area, opposed to the mom before, who was definitely running on a very low battery pack. Does that paint a good picture in your head, Johanna, like what that looks like?
I think it does, and I think that's really helpful on like a day-to-day basis. If you're operating in green or red, I want to give a couple examples if you're permanently living in green or red or yellow, because I feel like that's where people may not even realize it because it's become their baseline. And once you have a baseline of something, it's really hard to recognize the difference until you have someone point it out to you. Some symptoms that I've seen with clients that are kind of operating in like that yellow, their battery is like starting to drain capacity, is they're waking up without an appetite. That's a big sign that your body is like, it's under stress. It's not ready to have like a robust metabolism and ready for food necessarily. And so that can be a big red flag of like, hey, your capacity has been functioning at a lower state for quite some time. And so it's starting to affect your appetite. Waking up in the middle of the night is a really, really big one. Feeling the need to move fast and quick through things. Like, I'm going to shout out to my mom. Love you, Mom. I know that you say this. I'm going to just blast to town real quick. I'm just going to get this done really quick. I'm just going to go run over there. I'm going to do this really quick. I'm going to take a quick shower, right? How often do we say that in our life?
All the time.
All the time. It's something that I've tried to like pull back on my own of like, I'm not going to tell my husband I'm going to take a quick shower after dinner. I'm going to tell my husband I'm going to take a shower after dinner. Why does it need to be quick? So I've noticed a lot of people that are operating in like that yellow, their battery's starting to die, or red, is they're trying to do things quick all the time. Why? I think that's a really big red flag of like what's actually going on there. Now, if you're a busy mom and you have a busy schedule and stuff like that, that could be playing a role, but that's also probably contributing to what's going on with your capacity. Hair health is also a really interesting kind of like red flag when I've seen women live in like an undernourished, low capacity state. their hair starts to get dry, it starts to fall out, gets way thinner, it's not growing as well, or nails start breaking, chipping, they're not growing as well. It's a really interesting thing of like once we start to see people nourish themselves and take care of themselves, their nails get strong, their hair gets strong. I used to have very fine, thin, slow growing hair, and now I don't. So I've kind of seen both sides of that. And I feel like that's kind of like a chronic low capacity sign, 100%. I'm sure that there's plenty more. We'll probably come up with more examples, but I think having some ideas of like what that could look like in a day-to-day life hopefully will be helpful for you guys to maybe recognize like maybe I am living in a lower capacity state, but I'm not realizing it because I've been in it so long and it's now my new baseline. This happens with stress. I know you talked
Just
about
need to
this.
say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, go ahead and talk about that if you want to, because I feel like that's a huge thing that we've noticed with women and
Yep.
just people, but women for sure.
So I actually want to ask all of you that are listening to pause for a second, whether you're watching live or listening, to pause for a second. I want you to be really like raw and honest with yourself for a minute. This is a question I ask every single one of my clients when I onboard them. On a scale of 1 to 5, I want you to rate your stress. 1 mean I have no stress in my life. 5 mean I'm stressed to the max. And give me a number. So I'll give you a second. Think of your number. Say it out loud.
I'm gonna say you can't say 0.
You can't. Okay, now here's the wild part. More often than not, I get between like a 2 and a 3. And they're
Mhm.
like, I'm not that stressed. But when I then ask them, okay, explain like a typical day to me, explain your life to me, and they start painting the picture, I'll usually tell them, okay, from an outsider's perspective, if someone else were to live your life for a week, they would be stressed out of their mind.
Yeah.
We,
Give an example of that day.
so okay, example of that day. I picture the mom that's like, quick shower, gets ready as fast as she possibly can, or the kids. Maybe she had the intention of getting up before the kiddos, but it didn't happen because the kids slept terrible that night, right? So she wakes up to the kids waking her up. She goes and gets the baby up, runs and takes a shower as fast as she can to get the kids out the door. Her toddler's not listening. I'm basically painting you guys my morning the other day.
Yeah,
Like,
just so you guys know, we're coming at this from like the most loving place because we've
100%.
been there and we do this. We're not
Yes.
judging, we're just talking
No,
about
no,
this.
not
What
judging at
needs to be
all.
talked about, 100%.
Your 5-year-old is throwing a fit because she doesn't want to wear the shoes you picked out. So you're rushing it out of the house. Maybe you forgot to pack the lunches, so you're doing that as quickly as you can. You get the kids out of the house.
Did you eat breakfast?
Yeah, maybe you eat the scraps of your kids' breakfast because they refuse to eat the bagel that they swore that they wanted, that they
Or
liked
you grabbed a
yesterday. Throw it
bar and
away.
you're eating in the car?
Yes, yes. You're living off coffee because you have to have caffeine, right? I've had no hydration for the day. It's just this busy, chaotic morning. Then maybe you come home and there's all the loads of laundry to do and the kitchen's a mess. So that makes you more overwhelmed and more overstimulated. So you're just living in this multitasking, not even thriving, surviving atmosphere. And you're just so, I just want to say like overwhelmed. That's
Yeah.
what I picture it looking like for most women.
But you may not feel
You don't
overwhelmed
know it. You
because
don't know it.
that's your baseline. And
Exactly.
human bodies are so good at adapting to stress
Totally.
that we become unaware of stress. And oftentimes, I know I'm like this. I don't know, Amber, if you're so much like this. I'm definitely like this, and I have a lot of clients that are in my same boat. We kind of thrive off of stress.
Yes.
So like I would like my jobs have been like a barista. I thrived. I loved it. I worked in a fast-paced bathing suit store where I like thrived and was serving people. Um, I worked as a fitness instructor where I'm like high stress, high energy, go, go, go. I'm going to talk about that later. Um, but I was a stress seeker, and because stress, or a really good example, I was a massive procrastinator. I used to always say when I was in school age, oh, I wait to do things because I need pressure on myself in order to get them done well. So like I would wait to write an essay until like a night or two before because I needed that deadline to push me to do something. I've worked very hard to come out of this. It's not easy, but once you become aware, gets a lot easier. I feel like we're like totally bird walking, but it's so
You're
helpful.
good. You're good.
But yeah, so anyways, stress seeking can feel really, really good. So you might feel like you're thriving. You have those beautiful stress hormones helping you out. But at a certain point, your body will start to speak up. And this is when a lot of women get symptoms like hair issues, skin issues, gut issues, blood sugar issues, like PCOS hormone, endo, stuff like that issues, thyroid issues, autoimmunity,
Yep.
pelvic floor issues, 100%. So it's kind of like, yes, while we can adapt, while we can thrive under stress, that doesn't mean that we should be doing it to ourselves all the time. We have to be very aware if we're stress seeking all the time.
Oh, absolutely. And I think the wild part is a lot of these women that are living in this chronic stress state, one, they're not aware, but two, if I then ask them, if you took an outsider's perspective and looked at your life, if one of your friends were to look at your life, would they think it was stressful? And they're like, yeah, probably. And the wild part too is a lot of time these women are like, well, Amber, I'm still taking care of myself. Like I'm getting the workouts in, I'm eating well, I'm doing the journaling, I'm doing all these things. Like they could list a million things they're doing, but it's just so many things that there's no white space.
Yeah.
There's no just let me sit and breathe for a second. It's go, 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 go all of the time. And so they're running on depleted
Yeah. It
more often than
almost
not.
makes me ask the question of like, but what are you not doing? Like you're trying
Exactly.
to do it all and like that feels really good. And that was definitely something I think I've started to break out of that habit, but I still struggle with it. You try to do it all, which feels really good. It feels really accomplished, like you're really accomplished, but at what cost, right? Um, and you can't do it all. And that's kind of why we want to have this conversation.
Yeah. I think this plays really well into the topic we were talking about too of like self-sacrificing, where you do everything. Like women, we can use an example, and this probably plays into men sometimes too, where you take the entire load of like your entire family on your back and you're trying to do so many things and you think you're doing all of the right things, but it's just too many things at once.
Mhm.
So it's like so heavy and yeah, your body's just overwhelmed and overtired and not
I
nourished.
feel like we were kind of talking about before we started recording, and we're going to talk about this here in a moment, but almost like society praising and encouraging that go, go, go.
Yep.
And what comes to mind, what you just said, was trying to be superwoman. How much does society try to encourage women to be superwomen?
All the time.
All the time. We take on the mental load, we take on work, we take on kids, we take on building the children if you're in your baby making years. Then we're also have it pushed down our throats to undereat, to
Mhm.
sleep less than what we actually need because the guidelines aren't even geared towards women. No one's actually told how to properly hydrate. That's why we wanted to have this conversation.
Yep.
But it's like, do all these things, do more, do more, do more, self-sacrifice, and do it with a smile, with a cape on your back.
Mhm. And we praise that.
Let me praise it.
Yep.
We praise it. Yeah, for
Mhm.
sure. I feel like this jumps like really nicely into the next thing of like we're seeing so many women. We saw this in ourselves, and it's probably something that we're still really needing to work on. Her and I call ourselves out often. So Amber and I meant to say this in our first episode. We send like novels of voice messages. Like we had our own private podcast to each other.
We really do.
We still do. I was actually like, after our first episode last week, I was like, oh no, are we not going to talk as much because of that? And then, like, the next day, I think we sent more voice messages than we ever have sent. It's pretty funny.
Because we get like
Um,
inspired by this stuff. Like it's
yeah,
like
yeah,
more.
yeah. And we talk about things like, yoga pants making your hoo-ha smell funny, and it's a
Exactly.
thing. Yeah. So, anyways, um, so find someone like Amber, find your Amber.
Mhm.
But we both probably struggle still with go going all the time. I think we're
Oh, yeah.
both becoming a lot more aware of it in our own lives and our own bodies because we've seen the downstream effects of what happens if we don't start taking control of that. And then we also work with a lot of women. And I think you probably have dealt with this too. Like I work with women that are in their 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s, and I've seen the downstream effect of what happens in your menopausal years
Oh,
because
for sure.
unfortunately these women they grew up in like the sugar-free, low-fat, microwave meals, Weight Watchers, do a bunch of cardio and stuff like that. And now they're like suffering a lot in their menopause years. But anyways, we have that go, go, go pressure, constant pressure to produce, be active, fill your social calendar, do more, 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 more. And then it's like, at what cost, right?
Yeah, it's like the keeping up with the Joneses thing that we talked about. We
Uh-huh.
were also talking about, I was talking with one of my other good friends the other day, and I was telling Johanna about it, how it's so backwards in society that we applaud and praise people for being selfish in certain things. So, like examples we were talking about was like traveling or treating yourself to your daily Starbucks or chasing your career, more
Yeah.
like material things. We like
Uh-huh.
praise that, right? We don't
I
think
would
that
say material and status. I think
Yes.
that's what we were kind of missing. Yeah, material and
Status.
like
Yeah.
status. So like something that's going to give you status,
Yep.
like your job, your car, your house, whatever it is. We praise
Like
those things.
totally. We like put it on this pedestal, right? Oh yeah, they're being so selfish. It's amazing. It's like a good thing. But then on the flip side, when someone chooses to be selfish, for any of you that can't see, I'm doing air quotes right now, in something like setting boundaries or investing in themselves, taking care of their health, their wellness, eating clean, eating organic, having hobbies, adding fun things, stuff like that, that's not as like material, more like lifestyle focused, it's almost like frowned upon, you
Or
know?
questioned.
Yes, or question. It's like,
Yeah.
why is it so backwards that we're praising people for all these things that are more materialistic in status, but if we want to choose to take care of ourselves or even saying no. So this like kind of goes in line with like boundaries of like I would rather have more open space on my calendar or no, I don't want to go out and party. I want to stay home with my kids tonight and just like chill or have like a low key night. Like that's like frowned upon. But like
Yeah.
that's what's choosing to nourish that individual.
I also think of alcohol consumption with this.
Yes.
It's really interesting. So, our society, like, think about the amount of people that feel peer pressure to drink
Oh yeah.
because that's what everyone's doing and that's what's expected.
Mhm.
Arguably, it's more selfish to drink and binge drink because how the long term and I'm not necessarily dissing alcohol, but I just think it's an interesting perspective with our society and how we use and view alcohol. Um, like we'll go to a party. Oh no, I'm not drinking. I just want to take a break from alcohol right now. We get
And what do you
flack
get
for
asked?
that.
Are you pregnant?
Yes, and then you get asked that. Oh, it drives me insane. I'm like,
I'm
okay,
not.
yeah, no, I'm not. Thank you for asking. And like so many people, like also guys, like people, like ladies and gentlemen listening to this, we're in a day and age of like massive fertility challenges. Can we please delete that question from our vocabulary?
Please.
Please, please, please. I work with clients that like can't get pregnant for 4 to 5 years. And they're probably really effing tired of getting asked that question. So, anyways, little side tangent. But, anyways, it's kind of an interesting thing with alcohol of like, it's probably actually more selfish to consume it because of the long-term consequences. You're going to be hungover tomorrow.
Mhm.
It's really hard to stop once you've started. How is that affecting your family? How is that affecting tomorrow? How is that affecting your work productivity, whatever it is? So it's probably more selfish to consume, but it's celebrated. And
Yeah.
then if you decide to not, you're either looked at like you're crazy or you view like your body like it's a temple and like, oh, you're just one of those people, or
Yeah.
you get flack for it. And
Mhm.
it's just kind of an interesting thing. It's like how many other, there's probably so many other examples of that in our society of like, people almost want people to be naughty with them,
Yeah.
which is a really interesting thing. And then you don't like it when people are not being naughty. And I love the
I mean,
word.
even like
So
another
I'm using
silly
it.
example. Like when I used to work in the dental office, there'd be times that I would choose, I walked almost every day on my lunch break. I loved it. And you'd get comments like, why don't you just rest? Like you just worked for so long. Like, why don't you just sit here? And I'm like, I'm fine if you want to sit here. I have no judgment against it. But like it fuels my body,
Yeah.
makes me feel better to get outside. Another example, every time I go on vacation, my husband and I both either will bring like bands with us and we'll do like a short
Mhm.
workout wherever we're staying, or we will even get gym memberships. We like try
Mhm.
to be active. I don't do that to punish myself. I
Yeah.
don't do that because I have to. I genuinely do it because I feel better. I
It's
feel
a
more
form of
nourished.
nourishment for you.
Yes, it is. It totally is a form of nourishment. And I think one thing we just need to do as a whole is accept that everyone's form of nourishment might look a little bit different and like honor that.
Yeah. I
Some
was
people's
just
nourishment
thinking
doesn't need
that.
to look like mine, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I was just thinking that because I'm not a person that likes to work out on vacation. If I'm
Yeah.
going like a really long one, I might, but I'm a person that really likes to walk, get sunshine, go out and eat foods that I can't
Mhm.
get. But I'm really active still. Like I swim and I walk a ton, but I do not want to go to a gym on vacation because it's like if I've traveled to another city or country, I want to check that out. I don't necessarily want to spend time in the gym, and I'm not an early riser, so don't even ask me to like wake up early to do that. So my nourishment in that situation is very different. I absolutely don't judge Amber. I mean, I might judge. If she's waking up at like 6 a.m., I might judge her a little bit. If I'm being honest. Totally kidding. But
Me
my
up at 5:15 in
husband
the
does
morning.
that. Like my husband likes to work out and move on vacation because he's like, I don't have time in my typical schedule to get this amount of movement in, and it feels really good in my body to do so. So yeah, I think that's a really great example. And like, it just, even as you and I, we're different in what nourishment looks like in that
And
situation.
that's okay.
And that's okay.
It looks different for everybody.
Yeah.
So just like having that open space for people to find what nourishment looks like for them. I mean, if we even talk about like food, what looks good and nourishing to one
Yeah.
person is going to look different to somebody else. The same thing with movement.
Yeah.
Some people might like the structured gym more, or like you said, they like the walking more. It's
Yeah.
different for everybody, and we need to just be okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
So,
Absolutely.
do you want to go ahead
Um,
and break into kind of like what we view nourishment looking like, kind of like our buckets that we talked about? Or do you want to
let's talk about how it's impacted our own life, like an example of like, and I think we've kind of like trickled that throughout a little bit, but I do think like some very specific examples. And I can start this if you'd like, but
go for it?
how it's impacted our own lives and even businesses.
Mhm.
Because I think this is something like I was the woman or the girl, because this is like started from a very young age for me, that gave, push, push, push. I was a high achiever. I did not realize, guys, that I was a high achiever until last year. I'm 28 years
Really?
old. Yeah. I
Been that
listened to a
long?
podcast explaining
Wow.
high achieving, and I was like, oh my God, that's me.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah. So high achieving, just in case anyone else is in the same shoes as me, high achieving is basically like when you feel like you can't like the gold is not enough basically. So like getting an A isn't enough. Like in high school, getting an A isn't enough, so then you need to take an AP course. Well, if I'm taking an AP course, well, I might as well also do honors and get involved in this club and then also make varsity volleyball. Like that was me.
I want to ask you a question really quick.
Yeah.
Two things, actually. One, do you have a hard time celebrating yourself?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. Two, when you reach a goal, are you immediately looking for the next one?
100%.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Johanna and my husband are like the female and male version. They're like, he's totally
Yeah.
a high achiever. So it's so funny because I like feel like
Yeah.
I'm hearing his story. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, 100%. Well, and I'd also say this is kind of interesting from the fitness perspective. Setting goals for like weightlifting never was a motivator for me, ever. Because if it felt too big, it wasn't motivating. And if it like felt too little, it wasn't motivating. And then if I hit it, I didn't celebrate it. So it's not motivating. If you don't celebrate, you guys, if you don't celebrate your achievements, and this is something being an entrepreneur has taught me, and I'm much better now than I used to be. Shout out to my team. But if you don't celebrate your achievements, what the heck is the point?
Exactly.
What the heck is the point? And that's something that like Katrina is one of my practitioners, and her and I like very much so have that fix it personality of like, oh, let's look at people's lab work or our own lab work. What can we fix? We don't necessarily always, we're working on it of celebrating how our clients have improved or how ourselves have improved, but instead we just want to fix, get better, get better, right? And that's something that we've caught ourselves on and we're actively working because our clients deserve to experience the wins and the successes, right? But anyways, I feel like that's so that's kind of what a high achiever is. And that can really, really be exhausting and depleting because your goalpost is constantly moving. So like for me, an example in business, it was like, oh, I need to get my first client. Okay, now I need to get my second client. Okay, now I need to be able to retire myself from my previous job. Okay, now I need to hit X dollar amount. Okay, now I need to start hiring a team. Okay, now I need to have a passive income source. It was like next, 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 next. And when I was just here by myself before I had a team, I didn't celebrate it. I would do a little bit, but I really didn't celebrate it. And I have that in my real life as well, outside of business. I can't like come up with examples as much, but I would say over this past year or two, I've gotten way better at celebrating those successes. And weightlifting is becoming a lot more motivating for me. So like I worked with, I'm gonna shout her out. She's awesome. The hypermobile Cairo, Taylor Goldberg. She's fantastic. She's a like acquaintance of both Amber and I.
Mhm.
I worked with her this past year. I had a goal of a single leg extension of 50 pounds per leg. It was something that I was told by my knee surgeon 10, 11, 12 years ago that I could never do, like because of my surgery, don't ever do leg extensions. And Taylor, like shout out, she's a queen, and she was like, that's wrong. We need that for your quad strength. Let's start doing it. And all of my knee pain went away. So anyways, shout out for that. And like also strength training. If you have knee pain, please do it.
Mhm.
But my goal was 50 pounds and I reached it like way quicker than what we set. And that was like a really, really big celebration in my life.
I
Like
got a message about that. So she
you
did. She
did. Yeah, I
celebrated.
did celebrate. Like I messaged Taylor, I messaged you. I think I messaged my parents, my husband. Like I think I shared on social because like I feel like I'm like almost getting emotional about it. Like that was such a big moment for me because it was something that I was told I couldn't do for a decade. Then I finally did it. And you guys, I started with 0 pounds for weeks. And then I started at 2 pounds and then 5 pounds and then 7.5 and then 10. And I worked up slow increments and I finally got to 50. And that was super motivating because I like finally, I stuck with a goal, which is something that like I just don't do. Like I do, but I don't celebrate it. So then it doesn't feel like I stick with goals. Anyways, that high achieving personality can really play a big part in a lot of what we're talking about. Like, I would say yes to everything. I would do a ton of networking meetings when I was building my business. I would want to take all of the supplements. I would want to do the all or nothing diet styles. I like at one point in 2021, my husband and I got married, moved across the state. I started a business. We went on a 3-week honeymoon. Bought a house 6 months later, and it was just like go, 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 go constantly. And I got really stuck in that push, push, push. And there was not a lot of nourishment in that. Um, and my health and body started to take a toll. My like health journey really started a long time ago because I was doing this even in high school. Like I had mentioned, I was like AP, honors, all these clubs, varsity volleyball, club volleyball. I worked with a personal trainer. Like way too much. But then I also wasn't eating enough, wasn't sleeping enough, didn't know how to hydrate. And I had a very low capacity, kind of back to the beginnings that we were talking about. And then that's when my thyroid issues started to come up, my gut issues, my chronic fatigue, my hormone imbalances. I wasn't making progesterone. You have to be in a safe, nourished place in order to make progesterone. And we have like a low progesterone epidemic right now amongst women. Um, and this continued. And then I like started working in service jobs. So then I'm taking care of people. I was a barista and then I worked at a swimsuit store and then I worked in fitness. And fitness is so much fun. If you know, you know, working in fitness. And I'm talking about like group studios, like in fitness studios. I feel like Amber handles working in fitness very well. I'm talking like working at group fitness studios. So fun, great team environment. It's awesome social interaction. It is that push, 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 go, 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 give, give, give energy though. Like I would leave classes with a high and it was a stress hormone adrenaline high because it felt like I've had a very similar feeling to like when I won a volleyball game in high school. Like it was just like that high team camaraderie type thing. That was also so depleting. And I think this is really interesting. While that was nourishing to my emotions, to my mental health, it was not nourishing to my physical health at the same time. And I think that's where we kind of have to be careful and like find that balance. And then all of these, like none of these I realized were issues. I didn't realize how my mindset, my lifestyle, my lack of nourishment across all areas of my life was really affecting me until I run a hair tissue mineral analysis test. And all of my minerals, you guys, were so depleted. I still don't think I have gotten someone else's test that was more depleted than me,
Which is wild.
which is wild. And the crazy thing is, my first test was in 2021 or 2022. And I was working on mineral repletions, but I was still new in business. I was still pushing all the time. I was still did not know how to say no. I didn't know how to take breaks. I was going, 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 going. A lot of self-sacrifice. And I would say that like, well, yes, starting a business has some of that because you're figuring a lot of things out. I do think that the entrepreneur world has really like glommed on to like you have to self-sacrifice, you have to work 80 hours a week in order to make this work. That's not necessarily true. Um, but then a year later, I ran my hair test again, and my minerals got even worse after working on them for almost a year. And at that point, I was just like, okay, something has to change. Like, I'm stressed to the max. There's 3 stages of stress on the hair test. There's 3 stages of stress in general, but we can see them on the hair test. There's the resistant stage of stress, which is where a human we want them to be because they're nourished, but they're resisting stress. They're handling things well. There's the alarm stage of stress, which is like, holy crap, like we're in stress, fight or flight. That's probably like if you're going through something stressful right now, like you just had a baby, you're having a big thing happen at work, you're going through maybe like marriage issues or something like that, you might pop into that alarm stage of stress. And then there's like the depleted, exhausted state of stress. And I was in the complete, like utter plummeted, exhausted state of stress. I had very, very low thyroid function and very, very low adrenal function. My body wasn't even like producing cortisol properly. I took a hormone test and my hormone production was almost at menopausal levels.
I
And I
remember
was,
you texted me about that too.
yeah, I was
Remember that.
27 years old and my hormones are at menopausal levels. So I just wanted to give these examples to you guys of ways your body gives you signs that you need to change something with your lifestyle, with your mindset, with how you nourish your body beyond just food. Because, guys, I was eating pretty well. I was working out, I was getting movement, I was sleeping like okay, but it was more beyond that. And I think this is like why we wanted to have this conversation because I am not abnormal. Like this is the story for a lot of women. And then now I'm on getting to be on the other side of that of like nourishment, and I will talk about like what we do for that and how we support our bodies. But now it's like my hair is finally growing, my hair is shiny and healthy, and I didn't think that was possible for me. Like it's thickening up, and I have had thin hair my entire life. I thought that was just my genetics. My acne went away. My nails are like the strongest they've ever been. My energy, like finally, this summer, I was like, I am back to my pre-mono energy, which is when I was 17 years old. That was 11 years later, guys. And that's still with working on diet, lifestyle, taking supplements that are supported, running labs and stuff. It's because I didn't change the lifestyle and the mental and the mindset of things. And I really had to do that. Once I did that, it was quick, it was cool. And now I'm really like reaping the benefits of that. So that's kind of like a little bit from my perspective of how nourishment has played a role and things that have contributed to the lack of nourishment beyond just food in my body. And I hope that was helpful for other people that are high achievers. They like to take a lot on. I think if you always feel like you're in a busy season or like I just have to get through X month or this season or whatever it is, and then things will be better. If you're constantly thinking that, you're likely a high achiever or a stress seeker, and I would heavily encourage like getting some assistance and support there.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Thank you.
It's cool. And I've heard your story, but it's still so cool for me to like hear it again.
Mhm.
And mine is I'm gonna take a little bit of a different perspective. I wouldn't say I'm a high achiever. However, I'm a massive, massive people pleaser. Recovering people pleaser, I will say, you guys.
Yeah,
And
you're doing good. Like I feel like
doing
you like
so much
especially the
better.
last few months, like I feel like you're like
Yeah.
catching yourself a lot and you're setting boundaries a lot more and stuff.
Yes. So boundaries are one thing that over the past, I'd say 2 years have been something that I have been working on so hard. And Johanna knows all about this because I celebrate all of my boundary setting by sending her messages. So we
In
talked
our
about
personal podcast.
exactly. We talked about this a little bit in episode 1 about my autoimmune journey. So I have Hashimoto's. Shout out to Johanna for helping me through that. But my depletion stuff is interesting because so much of what I deal with is mindset and not honoring my boundaries. So Johanna actually sent me a podcast a few weeks ago. It was a Mel Robbins podcast about how 80% of autoimmune disorders happen in women. And a lot of the times we see it in women like myself that are people pleasers, that we give, that we put everyone above ourselves. Like we have that service mindset to an extreme.
Mhm.
Like I love serving others. And one thing that Johanna and I've talked about too is I almost care too much. Like I could use like an example in my own clients. If I have a client that's struggling, like let's say they're not showing up and doing their workouts or not doing the things we've talked about, I will get so depleted and defeated for them. Like
Yeah.
I want it so much more than they do. And I've had to just kind of step back and realize that all I can control, go ahead.
I want to add really quick, not necessarily that you care more than they do, because we don't know that, but you
True.
might feel like you do, which then
Yes.
is really, really depleted. And I think that's a key thing to recognize, especially for people that struggle with this, especially like moms
Mhm.
or even just like the caregiving persona. Like you might just be like a caregiving person and like you're doing that as a daughter, as a sister, as a friend. And if you often feel like you care more than others, I feel like, well, yes, that's something to be aware of and check out who you're surrounding yourself with. But I think that's important to kind of keep in mind.
Yes, that's very important. So I've just realized that one of the biggest things that I have to do for my nourishment is set boundaries, control what I can control. If you guys haven't read Mel Robbins' book, also Let Them,
Mhm.
you should read it.
She
This
also has a podcast
she
too
does.
that
It's really good.
that touches on it. I'm sure the book goes
Yes.
way more in depth, but
Yes.
it's a nice little intro.
It is literally like my life written in a book. And it has been the mantra that I have used for the past few months as I've really started to set boundaries. And I can't tell you guys how freeing it is and nourishing it is for my mental health and my soul to say no
Yeah.
and to set my boundaries and be perfectly okay with them and not even worry about if someone's, and I'm not saying that I need to dismiss other people's feelings, but like being okay with someone being upset. That's
Yeah.
one thing that I've struggled with my entire life is I do things sometimes out of fear of what someone else is going to think or do because of the boundary that I set. And
Mhm.
then when I do say yes, out of again, like, oh, I don't want them to be upset with me. Oh, I don't want to like disappoint them. I owe them something. I then end up resentful and feel worse myself and I notice that when I do that, that's when my autoimmune symptoms flare the
Mhm.
most. Same thing with my pelvic floor symptoms. When I say yes too much and stretch myself too thin and don't hold to my own boundaries, my pelvic floor symptoms get worse. For anyone that's dealing with pelvic floor symptoms, your mindset and your stress levels on the pelvic floor are like besties.
Mhm.
So if we're constantly saying yes to things that we don't particularly want to, we're not holding to our boundaries, we're doing all these things, you're going to be symptomatic in the pelvic floor and your autoimmune stuff. And that's been the biggest thing I've noticed. Go ahead.
Jaw clenching.
Yes.
Jaw
Jaw
clenching.
clenching
Like
is a huge
this
thing.
show. So talk about stress, jaw clenching, pelvic floor.
Yep.
I can't remember if we talked about that last episode, but I
Don't
think you
think
can
we
like
did.
highlight it really quick.
Yep. So really cool fact, for anyone that doesn't know, I worked in dental hygiene for 8 years before I did this. So I'm very passionate about how the jaw and the teeth and everything connect to the pelvic floor. So we get really nerdy in embryological development. So as a baby is developing, the mouth and the anus actually develop like the same time. So it's like top of the tunnel, bottom, right?
It's
And
like
so,
this little cell
yep,
cluster, and there's like literally two indents, and literally the top indent is your mouth, the bottom indent is your anus.
it's
Like it's
wild.
from the beginning,
Yep.
beginning. It's crazy.
Yep. So what we see in women that are higher stress, little more anxious, tend to be more like the type A, again, people pleaser type people. When we hold tension in a lot of times our shoulders and our jaw, it doesn't even have to be grinding. Most people, if I ask them, they're like, no, I don't grind my teeth. It doesn't have to be grinding. It can simply be holding your teeth
Yeah.
together and holding tension. So in an ideal world, your lips should be together, but your teeth should not touch unless you're chewing.
Mhm.
So women that hold a lot of tension in here have a lot of like headaches, jaw pain, migraines, neck tension, stuff like that. I'll use this is in my intake stuff if you're a clencher or a grinder. And
Mhm.
more often than not, if they are, they're also dealing with some sort of pelvic floor symptoms because the two work together. If you're clenching and holding tension here, you're probably also holding tension down there. So that's a
Would you say that they're probably clenching their pelvic floor when they're clenching their
yep,
jaw? Okay.
yep, yep. And sometimes it's so like ingrained that you don't even know you're doing it. So I'll usually ask women, are you a tummy sucker? And they're like, what? Like,
Mhm.
do you suck your tummy in all the time? Do you clench your glutes a lot? If I
Yeah.
were to watch you, in your kitchen doing the dishes, is your butt tucked under you? That's a
Yeah.
sign that you're holding tension in the pelvic floor. And I'd be willing to bet if I were to come to touch like your masseters or even your shoulders, and I'll have
Masseters are where for people that
yep,
not
right
looking.
here on your jaw. You're big, like if you like clench really hard and kind of push, that's your
Like
masseter.
that muscle that's like out by,
Yep,
it's like when people have like that chiseled jawline and
yep,
like on that right corner,
yep.
you're not right corner, but outside corner, kind of below your earlobes. That's your
Yep.
masseter.
Yep. And for a lot of people, if you kind of clench your teeth right now and then take your fingers, start at your jawline and like walk your fingers up as you clench, if you kind of push in, if they're like tender and sore, pretty good sign you're doing some clenching and some grinding.
Okay. I
Yeah.
used to clench and grind really bad and they're not sore anymore.
Yay. That's good.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been the game changer for me when it comes to my nourishment and my mental health is setting boundaries, honoring those boundaries, and letting people have their feelings about me setting them. The
Yeah.
more that I've been able to do that, the more stable my autoimmune stuff has been, the more stable my pelvic floor has been, the better mom and wife and I almost said employee, entrepreneur I am. Like when I first started my business, when it came to like booking calls with clients and things like that, I was constantly like, oh, this time doesn't work for you. Oh, let me open up another time.
Yep.
Oh, that's too late in the day. Oh, let me change it. Like I would always bend my own things and sacrifice my own time, my own energy, time with my kids, what have you, in order to please someone else. And that started really showing up in my symptoms.
Yeah,
I think
100%.
that's been a biggest part of my story.
I'd say it's kind of interesting because I struggle with a lot of those things too. My root was high achieving and pushing,
Hmm.
and your root was people pleasing, but we
Yes.
kind of expressed similarly. And I feel like
Yo.
that's kind of an interesting observation. So for you guys listening, like maybe you're doing something similar in real life. Like in real life, I would always be like, oh yeah, I'll come to you, or you pick the coffee shop, or I don't know, what do you guys want to do?
Yep.
I don't have an opinion. I don't mind what we do. I don't know if that's people pleasing or what that is, but uh that's kind of like it would express that way in real life. And then business, absolutely. There'd be days I'd be working 7 to 7 because I was like, oh yeah, I can fit you in. It's fine, no
Yep.
problem. But the driver was high achieving, not necessarily people pleasing. I actually like, I don't know if I'm a people pleaser or not. I think I have like some people pleasing tendencies, but I think it's often like from like a giving place, kind of like what you're talking about.
Yep.
But not necessarily like because I'm afraid of reaction. But it's an interesting thing as you kind of like learn about people pleasing.
It
I
is.
would say something that has played a big role for me too is I'm an empath and I don't like people around me to be upset. So I often like to fix and take it on for them.
Me too.
And it's not necessarily that I try to like skirt around and like not make them upset. It's more of like I don't want them to get upset about anything.
Yep. I do that same thing.
And that's so hard. And that's
It's very hard.
so draining, so draining. And that's something I've really had to work on myself. Because it's like, let people get upset. Like, if they're going to be upset, let them be upset. They're adults. They can be taken care of on their own. Like, that's not my job to control adults. It's like almost like a control, maybe a
Yeah.
control
Yeah.
thing. So it's kind of an interesting perspective, and that can get really depleting and contribute to lack of nourishment and stuff like that too.
Oh,
So you're
100%.
draining and trying to control things that you can't control. It's
Hmm.
when you were talking before, something that kind of popped into my mind, and I don't know if I'm going to say this properly, so I'm sure you'll be able to reiterate or like rephrase for me, but other people's opinions are none of your business, or like other
Yes.
people's thoughts of you are none of your business, other people's blah, 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 emotions are none of your business. Emotions is like probably kind of depends, like my husband's emotions are my business, right?
Yes.
So it depends on the relationship, but other people's opinions are none of your business, especially for people that don't know you very well. Something my mom always said that I really appreciate. Shout out mom again. Hopefully you listen to this. Uh, Something she always said growing up that I really liked is I don't care what that person thinks of me. I only care what you and daddy think of me.
I love that.
And so it was like what me and my dad, her husband, thought of her. And I thought that was really interesting of like, I don't care who Joe Schmo thinks I am. I only care about what my husband thinks I am because he's the one that like knows me truly, my goals, who I am as a person. Or like, I don't care what this random person on Instagram thinks of me, but I do care about Amber's feedback. If I'm not being a good friend, I do care about that. And so like almost like weighing like whose opinion and that actually matters, and does the stranger's opinion actually matter, or the grocery clerk and stuff like that.
I think it's really powerful. And I think we give too much people access to our
Yeah.
worth
Uh-huh.
with their opinions.
And we overshare
We overshare like crazy. I'm a
and then
total
like look
overshare.
for acceptance with
Uh-huh.
opinions.
Uh-huh.
100%.
This was a big thing that I had to go through being an entrepreneur, especially for Johanna and I, 'cause we do post on social a fair amount, social
Yeah.
media. Like you really have to get over that worrying about what's this person going to think if I post? Are they going to like this? Are they not going to like this? Did I do this right? I finally had to get it to a point where I was like, I don't really care.
Yeah. You're gonna do what you want to do. Your
Yeah.
people will find you. And yeah,
Yeah.
that helped me getting a team personally because it's like it became less about me and more about our business and our brand. And that was easier for me to separate that.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm like very much at a point of like, oh, if you're not a good fit, you're not a good fit. That's fine. If you don't like what we're saying, like that's totally fine. There's probably someone out there that you will like. But yeah, that's a really interesting thing. And I think that there's a lot of people that share a lot on social for gratification, for
Mhm.
acceptance and stuff like that. And I just encourage, are there other ways that you could seek that in your life without doing
Absolutely.
that? I have one more thing that
Go
I'd
for it.
like to talk about that we didn't put on our bullet point is
Please do.
what we see right now, women saying sorry.
Oh, all the time.
Way, way, way too much. Way too much. And this is something that I've become aware of in my own body. And I'm talking about like, oh, sorry, my hair looks like this. Sorry, my nails aren't done. Sorry, I'm late. Sorry, my baby's crying. Sorry, blah, blah, blah. Like Amber, actually, I think a couple weeks ago, you were like, sorry, I'm eating on one of our voice messages.
I
And I'm like,
did.
girlfriend, don't apologize for taking care of yourself and like meeting a foundational need, please.
Yes.
Or like one of my team members, like we were on a team meeting yesterday and her baby was pooping and she goes, sorry if you can hear my baby pooping. And I'm like, why are we apologizing for that?
Like
Right?
it's normal life stuff.
It's normal life stuff. And surround yourself with people that you don't need to apologize about those things for. But I think that's something that we really need to do as women specifically is like, sorry for the delay in response, sorry for the typos, sorry for whatever it might be. I'm sure that you can think of a bunch of others too. But why are we apologizing? And then what is that constant apologizing doing to our morale, who we are as a human, and how is it depleting us?
Well, especially like a mom, there's even moments I hear Emmy. She'll because I know I say it.
Oh yeah.
She'll say it. And like I don't even remember what it was yesterday. She did something yesterday and she said sorry. And my husband was like, "Baby, you don't have to say sorry." And she
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, okay." But like I guarantee she's heard me say it and other women say it because it's what we do.
Yeah.
Like we need to stop apologizing for being human
Huh? 100%. Yeah.
and doing human things.
Something that my husband has said to me before is, I don't need you to say sorry. Like if we're having something and he's trying to relay something to me that like I need to change or I need to work on, or maybe I said something too sharply and I say, I'm sorry. Like he's like, I don't need you to apologize. I don't need you to say sorry. I just need you to understand how that came across. Or I just need you to like, like just have that understanding so you're self-aware and we can communicate better in a way that's not going to be,
Yeah.
accidentally a little too sharp with him.
Mhm.
And that this is literally kind of like clicking for me right now of like even my husband has like called me out for saying sorry in situations that I probably don't actually even need to say sorry for. And I don't feel like I'm a woman that says sorry a lot. But maybe I am. So it's kind of an interesting thing of like how often do we say the word sorry or I'm just doing this. Just as another really big one of like, oh, I'm just checking in, like I'm just doing this, like, oh, I don't want to like bother you, like I'm just doing this or whatever it is. So
It's the
that's
whole concept
interesting.
like I made a reel on it today. It's like women making themselves small. When
Yeah,
we say sorry or we say just, we shrink ourselves a little bit
100%.
versus being able to just take up space, ask
Mhm.
for what you want. You know,
Mhm.
you don't have to say just because, like you said, it devalues things. I even think about this when I have check-ins with clients.
Uh-huh.
There's so many times when I go to send an email, oh, just checking in on this. Oh, just wanted to ask you this versus just asking it.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
stop
uh,
making it small. So
100%. Yeah, I actually saw a gal, she's a public speaking coach, and she's like, women, stop saying these things. She's like, have you ever seen a man say, I'm just checking in? And I was like, preach it, sister. I'm going to change that vocabulary for me.
it's so true.
Okay, let's dive into nourishment from our perspective. Hopefully, this, like, overall, you guys are kind of like seeing the trend here, but it's so much beyond just nourishing foods.
Yes.
Um, so do you want me to get started or do you want to kind of
Yeah,
start?
go ahead and kick off
Okay,
diet food. That's like kind of your area, and then we'll go through
cool.
the rest.
Perfect. So, yes, nourishment is diet and food, 100%. And we'll do some dedicated episodes about this. Um, But eating enough is huge. Like what Amber said is like how many mamas are eating the scraps off their toddler plate? Or they're eating a bar on the road, or they like just had like some cheese and some salami for lunch. The really, really eye-opening thing the two eye-opening things that I like to share is download the app Chronometer. It's Cronometer. Chronometer. The picture is it's an orange picture with an apple with a target in it. Track your food for a couple of days to see if you're getting enough and come from that perspective. Am I getting enough? Not necessarily am I getting too much, because I think that's a big perspective that we need to change as women. We'll talk a lot more about this. So many women are eating 1,000, 1,200, 1,400, 1,500 calories. Ladies, a toddler, 1 to 3 years old, needs 1,300 calories per day.
I think that's such a powerful statement. I use that with clients too, and it is eye-opening.
Uh-huh.
Toddler.
And we have women that are 150 pounds. They are grown ass adults. They are working out. They're taking care of families. They're moving constantly. They're giving, giving, giving. And they're eating the same daily amount as a toddler. No wonder 80% of women have hormone issues. No
And struggle with
wonder
weight loss too.
80% of autoimmune conditions are women
Yep.
because we've had it pushed down our throat, eat less, eat less, eat less, do more, do more, do more, and do it with a smile.
Yep.
So, and I will do, we'll definitely do an episode on this. The amount of clients that I've had recently say, oh yeah, I went and saw my, in parentheses, probably male doctor, primary care doctor, unfortunately, um, and have said, I can't stop gaining weight. I can't stop gaining weight. I don't know what to do. And that doctor just says, you should probably just eat less. Eat
Yep.
less.
Eat less. Yep.
Without
And then
understanding
and
the
then they don't lose
physiology.
weight. They
And then
gain
they don't
more
gain weight.
weight.
Yeah.
And they're like,
Yeah.
what is happening? I'm eating less.
Yeah. If it was as simple as eating less, ladies, I always like to ask this. If it was as simple as eating less, wouldn't you be where you want to be right now?
100%.
It's not that simple. Like,
No.
it's so much more than that. We'll dive into that a lot more. But anyways, diet and food's huge. Eat real foods as much as possible. Eat 3 to 5 times a day, 3 main meals. You deserve it. Another thing that I like to pose to moms, but even if you're not a mom and you have kiddos in your life, would you let your kiddo, your child, your niece, your nephew, your friend's baby skip breakfast?
No.
Would you let them consume 2 to 3 cups of coffee a day on an empty stomach? Would you let them skip lunch? Would you let them just eat like a couple pieces of salami I had one client like eating a piece of string cheese for lunch. Would you let your kid do that?
Would you give your kids the scraps of your food?
Yeah, probably not, right? So why are
We
we
don't
treating
even
them?
we don't even feed our dogs like that.
Yeah, true. Yeah, true. So at least most people, hopefully,
Most people,
take care of your
yes.
dogs.
Yes.
But yeah, so that just some thoughts there. A lot of women think that they're overeating. Majority of women are undereating. We're going to talk a lot more about this, so I'm going to kind of move on from that. Emotional, we've talked about this. The emotional nourishment is massive. Massive, massive, massive. I would say you could get all these other things down, and if you don't have emotional nourishment, you're probably still going to struggle. Emotional nourishment, like what do we mean by that? Do you feel safe? Do you feel happy? Do you feel secure? Do
Feel
you feel
seen
taken
and
care of? Do you
loved.
feel seen? Do you feel like you can take up space? And if this is bringing up emotions, like we have to have these hard conversations in order to change the status quo for women. Because right now, the status quo for women is pretty sad,
Yep.
sadly. Like it breaks my heart. And it's why you and I do what we do. And it's why we started this podcast to help change the status quo a bit. But the emotional nourishment is massive. So, what are some ways that we can start taking care of our emotions? Amber touched on so much of this, starting to say no,
Yep.
realizing what you can control or can't control, letting other people have their opinions and not letting it affect you. For me, not looking for validation from others. And like my high achieving, like huge drive was validation from others and not validation from myself. Celebrating wins and successes. Is there anything else? I'm sure
Asking
there's
for
so much.
help. I think
Asking
asking
for
for help
help.
when so there's a book by I think it was Jamie Kern Lima that wrote it. It's like How Are You Really?
Mm.
Such a good book. And I don't know how often we hear as women, we're like, "How are you?" And we're like, "We're so great," when really you're like dying inside. Like being able to say, "Today was really freaking hard.
We don't
Today
say that.
sucked."
People don't say that.
No.
Always like, how are you? Good. How are you?
Yes. Like be honest about how you are truly feeling, and it will be so freeing.
Yeah.
And granted, it'll be with like certain people. I'm not gonna walk up to some random stranger. It's like, how are you? And I'm like, my day's terrible. I'm melting into a
Your
puddle.
Starbucks barista.
Yeah. But like with the people that you feel safe, seen, and loved, and all those things, like actually being honest about how you feel is huge. I think it's another good example is like in your marriage. I don't know about you, but I like to think that my husband's a mind reader. And so there's many times he'll be like, how are you? And I'm like, I'm fine. What's wrong? Nothing. Like, why do I do that? I am getting better, but like,
We do that.
just
Yeah.
say how you're feeling.
Yeah.
I think that's another big one.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tricky. I also think what can be tricky there is sometimes I don't even know how I'm feeling.
And just saying that though.
Yeah. And
Like,
that's
I
true.
don't know, but I don't
Yeah.
feel good or I don't feel at peace or like just putting that into words.
Yeah. Or even like just simply saying, and I probably need to work on this of I don't know how I'm feeling right now. I'm still sorting that through that. Or I'm still
Yes.
trying to figure out what is going on in here because
Yes.
there's a lot that goes on in my head.
Mhm.
Um, I think another thing from the emotional aspect, and I think this is something that like guys, I just recently developed, I'd say in the past like year or two, to like the level that I have it now. Like I have developed it earlier, but to the level I have now is finding friends that are sisters
Yes.
and allowing my friends to be sisters. That was the other thing too, is I almost felt like I put up an emotional boundary of not letting people see the deeper me. And I think it was I don't know if it was like last spring or maybe 2 springs ago. I remember calling my girlfriend and like saying that. And she was like, well, thank you so much for sharing that with me. Like the fact that you just shared that with me shows me that you're trying to make that difference.
Mhm.
Um, because I also personally, emotionally, and just being who I am, will often want to hear about other people's day and what's going on with them so I can help fix them. That I
Hmm.
don't often share about what I'm going through. And that's something that I've tried changing a lot. And I feel like it's something that you and I do with each other a lot.
Yeah.
And I'd also say, like, I know finding good women friendships can be challenging, but just because it's challenging doesn't mean they're not out there. Like,
Yeah.
and just because you haven't had success in the past, like, guys, like I said, like, I do have some really awesome college friends, but it wasn't up until recently that I really started to allow myself to feel that like sisterhood aspect of girlfriends. Um, put yourself out there. Like go to the book club, go to the networking events, go to the fitness classes, talk to people, say hello to someone in the grocery store. Like you never know who you're going to meet, who you're going to connect with. Just put yourself out there and that will help build that emotional connection. But I'd say that's been a huge nourishment for my emotional and soul. It's almost like that soul nourishment is like getting that like sisterhood connection with other women that are very positive in my life and very supportive.
Absolutely. I think that plays into lifestyle really well too, because that was our next bucket was like, what does your lifestyle bucket look like when it comes to nourishment? And I think having a good group of friends is a really important part. We were designed for connection. Like as humans, we were
Social.
not meant to live by ourselves.
Yeah.
And everyone's social battery and capacity is different. So find what it is for you. For me, that is a few really close friends. I don't like having a ton of people, but I have my close-knit circle that is a big part of my life. So I think finding that is a big part of the lifestyle. The other piece that I think we're not great at when it comes to lifestyle is having fun. Like
Mm-hmm.
we get so stuck in the like day-to-day mundane check the list off that we forget to celebrate. I guess they celebrate. Actually have fun. Like go
We forget
celebrate
to
life.
play.
Yeah, just play. Like as kids, like we watch our kids, they use their imagination, they play, they go
That's sword
outside.
fights.
Yeah, like they do all these things, and it's like we become adults and we're like robots that just work, eat, sleep, repeat, you know? We
Yeah.
don't have that fun stuff anymore. And so having some, whatever it looks like for you, whether that's a hobby or date night, my husband and I do dates every Thursday. Every Thursday in the middle of our day, it's our lunch date. And I look forward to that every Thursday. It's so fun. Or
Mm-hmm.
like girls' night or book club or taking your kids to the park or going whatever fun feels like to you. I think we need
Dancing.
dancing. Dance parties in our kitchen, my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah. Dance. Like I always think of Cameron Diaz in I think it's one of the Charlie's Angels where she's like
Uh-huh.
dancing in her house in her underwear. I'm like, more women need to do that. It
Yes.
can be that simple. It doesn't have to be like, yes, well, going to book clubs, date nights, all these things are fantastic. But it could
Hmm.
be as simple like I was having a pretty crap day before this, and like an hour and a half before we got on our call, I was like, Johanna, you need to turn this around. I started dancing
I
and no
love
one
it.
could see me, and it was
I
great. And
love
I
it.
felt so much better afterwards because we deserve to play.
Yes.
Another example that I did the other week, it was funny. I just started a snowball fight with my husband.
Oh,
Yeah. We don't do that as kids. We
we
don't
don't.
build snowmen. We don't go sledding. We don't do snowball fights. We don't start food fights.
Yep.
Probably, like, I will probably never do that because of the mess, my goodness. But we don't like, yeah, there's like theme parks, but it's like you deserve more fun than just one theme park a
Yeah.
year,
Yeah.
right?
One thing we've done in our house, and this is like a whole other topic that we could talk about. We got rid of the TV. Like we don't watch TV in our
Mhm.
house anymore. Game changer. But what we have started doing is we started buying a bunch of games. And it is so fun now when Bo goes to bed at night that Emmy immediately is like, Mommy, Daddy, come play a game with me.
Yeah.
And that is one super fun for her and fills her tank. But it's so fun for me too to have that quality time with the two of them. We're like not staring at a TV. We're genuinely having fun. We're laughing. Like that even is so simple,
Yeah.
but it's fun.
So simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
The other
sure.
thing that we talked about too when it comes to lifestyle is white space on your calendar.
Hmm.
Please allow time to just be present, to
Yeah.
just relax, to do nothing, to take a few deep breaths, to look at the sunshine, to just have nothing. Like it's okay to have a weekend that's empty. I
Yeah.
think we praise people for having these busy, busy weekends. It's perfectly okay to be like, you know what? I'm not doing anything crazy this weekend. I'm gonna do whatever I want. It's gonna be chill. I think that part's big too.
I've done something in the past and it can be helpful. And I know it gets harder when you have kids, but actually having like no plans weekends and like
Yes.
I've put it on mine and my husband's calendar of like no plans this weekend. We're just
Feels so
not doing
good.
it.
Yep.
And I think that can be really, really helpful. I think people really underestimate how taxing socializing can be. Kind of on the flip side, is like, yes, please have fun, but don't also socialize like 5 days a week, every
Yes.
single year, because that gets really taxing.
Yep. Yep. Okay, mental. This is another bucket we have. This one kind of plays in a little bit to like the emotional one, but a couple examples we gave were like women and even men too, just taking the whole mental load of like the house, all of the to-do lists, the doctor's appointments, the food, like not asking for help. We could even go into like the mental side of, postpartum anxiety and seeking help for that stuff too. But I think sometimes the mental load even is just doing all of the things and
Yeah.
think we need to do them all perfectly and adding more to our plate and multitasking all the time. And it's just so heavy on us when sometimes we just need to offload something or ask for help or delegate or whatever that
Say
looks
no.
like for you guys. Yeah, say no.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. I'd say something else for mental, and this is definitely a part of my like nourishment and kind of like healing journey. And it's definitely for a lot of my depleted girls when we do a hair test, is they're researchers. So they
Mm.
like to know everything. They spend a lot of time like looking at their diagnosis online, researching diets, researching supplements, researching things, scrolling on Instagram to try to absorb as much information as possible. And it's hard because that can be very it can be very like of a self-fueling process
Yep.
because you get gratification, you get answers, you get better understanding from things, but there's a very fine line. And I'm speaking from experience because I've fallen into this fine line or fallen past that fine line way too many times of there's that fine line of overdoing it. And so just being aware of like, are you over researching? Are you constantly looking things up? Are you constantly multitasking? Can you be in a meeting and just be in that meeting? Are you also texting? Are you also researching? Are you also looking things up? Or you're also responding to emails? And I feel like that mental um load of that's very, very draining. And it really, really, really wipes out minerals and nourishment and stuff like
Oh,
that in
yeah.
the body.
Like we're just constantly getting stimulus.
Uh-huh.
Our brains aren't used to nothing. And I think that's why
Mhm.
a lot of times we then do this. You're
Yeah.
constantly thinking of like picking up your phone or checking your email or watch.
Watch.
Yes.
How many people are checking
Yes.
their watch because
Oh,
they get
yeah.
a notification in the middle of your conversation? And it's
Hmm.
hard because you have the notification, so it becomes an instinct. That I actually had to take my watch off because I wouldn't be able to not do that. My husband would be talking to me, and I'd check my watch, and he'd be like, and blah, 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 and he'd like jokingly go, and I'm pregnant.
Yep. I've had to mute everything on mine.
Yeah.
The only thing
Yeah.
I allow through now is text messages to my mom in case it's an emergency with the kiddos and sigh, and
Yeah.
that's it. I
Yep.
can't let anything else through because I do the same thing.
Yeah.
It's too
Yeah.
distracting.
So tricky. Yeah.
Okay, last one, physical. So this one is a big one. I think the biggest thing we want to get across when it comes to physical nourishment is really redefining the way we look at movement and exercise. So I was telling Johanna in Fierce Not Fragile, so in my business, the number one mantra that I give to all of my gals is all movement counts. We've seen so much of a push for this all or nothing mindset, especially if you've been like an athlete in the past or you're a high achiever. We have this idea that exercise needs to look a very specific way. It needs to be in the gym with the perfect outfit. You have to burn a certain amount of calories, you have to do a certain amount of cardio, a certain amount of lifting, hit the PR. Like it has to look a certain way. Now, granted, are there times that that stuff's important? Yes, I'm not bashing on that at all. But I think because we're so set in that mindset that we've forgotten that things like walking around your yard, gardening, going for a walk, yoga, meditation, walking around the house
Vacuuming.
with your kiddos, vacuuming, all of these things, literally just moving your body still counts. Like that is still a movement. And I think nourishment in a physical perspective is going to look different for everybody. We need to be okay with that. Now, are there still guidelines that I think are important to meet? Yes. But we need to also take the pressure off that it has to look a certain way and it has to fit inside this box because then a lot of times people get so overwhelmed that they do nothing. And then they're sitting and being stagnant and feeling way worse, and their body is severely undernourished because they're not moving at all. Go ahead, were you gonna say something?
No. So, oh, I know I wasn't thinking of like active jobs too, like teachers,
Yep.
baristas, firefighters, policemen. Like if you're a delivery man, holy cow, like they're so active.
Mhm.
So they could be almost overactive to the point where it's starting to undernourish them, right? And so I think something that I want to make very clear is there's no right or wrong in all of these categories. There's
Yep.
no like one size fits all, one blueprint, follow this cookie cutter template, and then you'll be good to go. There is none of that. And I know that can be really hard, but it's also really empowering at the same time, is you really have to check in with yourself.
Yep.
Where do I need emotional nourishment? Do I need an emotional nourishment? Probably. Most women do. Both of us
Mhm.
do. Lifestyle, diet, food. Am I eating enough? Lifestyle. Am I having fun? Is there white space on the calendar? Am I doing too much? Mental, physical, and really asking you yourself what you need, not what your sister needs, not what Amber says, not what Johanna says, not what you read online for your disorder, your diagnosis. What do you specifically need? And how can you be very real with yourself and then start making small little changes to make a difference in what's going on with your body?
I think this whole conversation really highlights one thing that I want to point out too is this is why things like quick fixes and one size fits all and the gimmick stuff doesn't work, and why Johanna and I are both so passionate about customization in our coaching, because one size does not fit all at all. And that's why people can get very discouraged when they try to do what Sally and Jill and all these other people have done and what has worked, or like even the example of like husband and wife. What might work for your husband might not work for you. That's like when it comes to weight loss and the husband loses 50 pounds and the wife loses none. Like
Or
it's,
she gains.
yeah, it has to be individualized to you. So just
Yeah.
keep that top of mind. I think is really powerful too.
And if you need help, ask for help with that. If
Yes.
you, or take, you have the power to take this in your own hands to try to make changes in your own body as well. Like we gave so many examples in here. So hopefully that's helpful. Biggest thing is try not to make all changes at once because that will also contribute to nourishment issues.
Baby steps.
So go slow and steady and just be real with yourself and check in with your body and check in with yourself. Journaling can be helpful. I like to do brain dumps to kind of work through things. But anyways, this has been a long episode. I feel like at first we were like, man, what are we going to talk about? And then we're like,
Here we are.
about everything. So I think let's wrap it up. Is there anything else that you'd like to say?
The only thing I think I would say is just everyone take a moment after listening to this, do the brain dump Johanna mentioned, like zoom out, look at your life, be really honest. How am I really, and where do you need to work? What areas can you start working on?
Yeah,
Real
absolutely.
honest
How am
reflection.
I really?
Yep.
Oh, awesome. Well, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in.
That's a wrap on today's episode. Thank you for hanging out with us on the Wild and Fierce podcast. If you loved this conversation, we'd be so grateful if you left a review and shared it with a friend who needs to hear this.
And if you really loved it, take a screenshot, share it on your stories, and tag us. We'd love to see it. Until next time, stay wild, stay fierce, and keep owning your journey.